Overtime is often a necessary evil, especially while many businesses are struggling to find labor. Overtime costs continue to rise. Paper Trails has a few ideas to help you manage and reduce your overtime. As you know, overtime is required in the state of Maine and at a federal level to be paid at 1.5 times an employee's normal rate of pay for any hours worked over 40 hours in a given 7-day period. Different states may have different laws, so be sure to check with your state if you're not located in Maine. If you run a biweekly or semi-monthly payroll, the overtime period remains as a 7-day period. Hours worked over 40 in any 7-day period must be paid out as overtime. Tip number 1 to manage overtime is to review employee time cards frequently. You need to know when your employees are going to go into overtime. So use a time clock system like iSolve to alert you when an employee is approaching overtime. If you know an employee is approaching overtime, you may be able to send them home a bit early to avoid the employee actually going into overtime. Use your managers and supervisors to check time cards on a daily basis. Tip number 2 to manage overtime is to adjust your pay period. Most business owners use a Sunday to Saturday or Monday to Sunday pay period. This is your overtime period as well. However, depending on your industry, it may make sense to adjust that pay period. Hospitality businesses run a Wednesday to Tuesday pay period. Because business is strong on the weekends, the last thing you want to do is send someone home who is approaching overtime on a busy Saturday night. By adjusting the overtime period, hours can be reduced at the end of the overtime period when business is a bit slower. Tip number 3 to manage overtime is to come up with a potentially different employee work schedule for your employees. Would a 3-day, 12-hour shift work for your business? Instead of running 2 shifts daily, run 1 long shift for 12 hours and allow your employees to work fewer days in the week. This is a benefit to your employees and may help you manage overtime as they're only working a set number of days a week. Remember, there are very specific rules to make an employee exempt from overtime. This is also known as making them a salaried employee. Employees must work in a specific job classification and earn a minimum weekly pay set annually by the federal and state governments to qualify as an exempt or salaried employee. Making an employee exempt to avoid overtime is not always the best answer. Please reach out to us or read our annual minimum wage update article to learn more about the requirements for making an employee exempt from overtime. There are many tools in your toolbox to manage overtime. Unfortunately, sometimes the job requires more than one tool to be done. Feel free to reach out to our team so we can brainstorm and help you manage and reduce your overtime costs.